So this is the final video for the American Revolution. We are going to be talking a little bit about Betsy Ross, Benedict Arnold, the final battle of the war, which is the Battle of Yorktown, the Treaty of Paris, and then Washington's farewell. Betsy Ross is given credit for designing or making the first American flag, the flag that we know that has the 13 stripes and then the 13 stars in a circle, which you can see here in the picture with George Washington looking at it. We don't know for sure if she's the one that actually did sew it, she's the one that actually designed it or not, but she is the one that is given credit. While Betsy Ross is sewing the flag and she's patriotic, we have someone on the other hand who is betraying the Americans and the Continental Army. So Benedict Arnold was an American general, and he decided that money was more important than winning this war. So he was secretly offered to turn over the fort at West Point, New York, to the British in exchange for cash. He was eventually found out to be a spy. They tried to capture him, to basically try him and kill him, but he managed to escape and fought for the British after his escape. So Benedict Arnold, a traitor to the Continental Army. After years of fighting, we started fighting in 1775, before the Declaration of Independence was even written. After years of finally fighting, the final battle of the Revolutionary War takes place, and that is the Battle of Yorktown, which happens in 1781. General Cornwallis, which is the British general, sets up camp in Yorktown, Virginia. The French decided that they are going to block General Cornwallis from receiving supplies from the British Navy. So Cornwallis is in Yorktown and is unable to get supplies from the British Navy. And you can see in this little map over here where General Cornwallis is screaming, "Help!" You can see the French ships are blocking the British ships. The famous George Washington finds out that General Cornwallis is kind of stuck in Yorktown, Virginia. So he marches from New York all the way down to Virginia with 6,000 men to confront and basically engage General Cornwallis and the British troops. Upon the arrival of George Washington, along with the French troops, General Cornwallis was cornered or blocked in Yorktown. With nowhere to go, he couldn't go out to the sea. The British Navy couldn't help him. He couldn't flee anywhere else. General Cornwallis was forced to surrender on October 17, 1781, ending the Revolutionary War. And this lovely drawing shows General Cornwallis surrendering to George Washington. This was actually not accurate. General Cornwallis was so embarrassed, he couldn't believe that he was, that he had lost to a bunch of farmers, that he couldn't even himself surrender. He had one of his men do it for him. Even though the war was officially over with the Battle of Yorktown in 1781, you still need to have an official treaty ending the war. The treaty comes a couple of years later. It's known as the Treaty of Paris. Yes, you guys already know the Treaty of Paris that ended the French and Indian War. This Treaty of Paris in 1783 ends the American Revolution. So 4 things come out of the Treaty of Paris. Britain finally recognizes the U.S. as an independent country. The U.S. gains a ton of land from Canada to Florida and then from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River. And you can see everything that's in light pink in the map is now American. Britain returns Florida to Spain, and then they're going to ask the states to pay back the Loyalists for land that was destroyed, even though most states actually didn't. They thought that even though they were Loyalists and they were, they were fighting against the colonists, they were now American citizens. They were still American citizens, and we still had to treat them with respect. So the state legislators were asked to pay back the Loyalists for destroyed property, but it didn't necessarily happen. These are the official signatures or the official end of the Revolutionary War. This is a copy of the Treaty of Paris, and you could very clearly see John Adams' name because he was in Paris during this time, and so was the famous Ben Franklin right next to it. I actually love this painting. This painting was supposed to be a representation of the signing of the Treaty of Paris, but it's actually unfinished because the British commissioners that were there, the British people that were kind of the ones that were dealing with all the negotiations of the end of the war, refused to pose for this painting. And so the painting was never officially done. They were so embarrassed to have lost to the colonists, to have lost to an untrained army, that not only did General Cornwallis refuse to surrender himself, but the commissioners that were involved in the negotiations couldn't even pose for a painting. That is how disheartened they were. And so this painting is unfinished. All you see is the American version of it, and I love it just because it still represents history, but it's not a completed painting. Since the war was now officially over, with the signing of the Treaty of Paris, General George Washington no longer needed to be in command of the Continental Army. I mean, there was no war any longer. So he actually bids his farewell. He's the one that says goodbye at a tavern in New York City. And this is the quote that he said as he left, which basically that we should see his face no more in this world. He's kind of leaving this all behind, and he's going to go back to Virginia to become a farmer again. And the tavern where he said his famous farewell is still in existence. Here we go, picture of it at 54 Pearl Street in Manhattan. And this plaque is on the building, which kind of tells people it's about its history. Excuse me, how General George Washington bade an emotional farewell to his officers at a banquet held in the Long Room. And people walk by this every single day. Most of them probably don't recognize the importance or the significance of the building that they're walking by every day. With that being said, we are officially done with all of the video lectures for the Revolutionary War. So you should be able to answer these 5 questions. Who is Betsy Ross and why is she important to the Continental Army and the Revolutionary War? Who's Benedict Arnold and what was his role during the American Revolution? The importance of the Battle of Yorktown and how did the colonists manage to win? And then finally explain the 4 parts of the Treaty of Paris and the importance of Washington's farewell. Washington leaves when no one requested for him to leave. He didn't want that power. He wanted to go back to be a regular citizen, and that says a lot about his character. So what is the importance of that? If you are able to answer these 5 questions, then go ahead and answer your blog, and I will see you guys tomorrow in class.